Lock your SC foils in attack position because it's time for a Scorpius ship review. If there's one thing that Star Citizen has proven time and time again, it's that they know how to make virtual spaceships, well, pretty much better than anyone else. And the brand new RSI Scorpius really is a thing of beauty. The two-seat heavy fighter brings style, speed, and firepower to any engagement, and it does so with a totally unique design that's not at all taking advantage of your boomer nostalgia. Its unique bi-wing configuration and fold-out functionality doesn't remind me at all of any other spaceship that may or may not be the most popular spaceship of all time ever. Alright, who are we kidding here? On the extremely rare chance that you like both Star Wars and Star Citizen, then you may have noticed some visual similarities between this ship and perhaps an X-Wing. Like the fold-out wings, engine placement, wingtip laser repeaters, and a cute little turret right where one might expect to find, say, an astromech droid. That being said, CIG made some significant changes that actually improve upon the design, adding in that extra wing fold to make the ship considerably more compact, which is actually super useful for landing and storing in a larger ship. And without question, the compact design of the Scorpius is going to make it a fantastic ship for fleet operations. The cockpit of the Scorpius is also an absolute delight, with a wraparound glass cockpit giving supreme visibility without sacrificing too much in the way of exposure. It's a bit light on its MFD layout, which is unfortunate for the moment, but the word is that down the road, additional UI functionality should help address this issue. Now, if you like to use head tracking hardware while you play, you'll also notice that the visibility when looking to the side and behind is also fantastic. This ship was definitely built with dogfighting in mind. And not only does this ship have an extremely good pitch speed for a fighter of its size, nearly matching a Saber in its turn rate and coming close to a Hornet as well, but it also flies like a dream in atmosphere. See, I knew that cross-wing design was more about functionality than just looking cool, right? Now, what's actually funny is that one of the cooler nods to the classic X-Wing design is also one of the bigger functionality flaws of the ship. The wingtip guns. Yeah, they look pretty darn cool. I love having that awesome laser convergence effect while firing off my size 3 repeaters. The problem is, well, that unless you're running with a gimbaled loadout, the convergence range for those weapons is kind of far away, meaning that fighter-sized targets from around 0 to 400 meters away end up inadvertently avoiding most of your fire simply because the shots aren't converging until further away. And this is pretty annoying for anyone who actually likes to get up close in a dogfight. So getting close, at least against smaller targets, is going to be a disadvantage, and I can see why the stock ship comes with the gimbaled size 2 repeaters. CIG actually has the hard task of trying to say, well, what if an X-Wing was a real starfighter? How do we fix all of the potential flaws that a movie ship might have? And, well, one of those fixes is just gimbaling the weapons on the wingtips, because otherwise it's got kind of a weird engagement distance. I wonder if at some point they may consider increasing the articulation range for fixed weapons on this ship just to help out with closer range targets for pilots who like to fly fixed versus gimbaled. Now, all that said, it's really not that big of a deal in PvE combat once you understand the convergence mechanic. So as long as you're engaging fighters at 400 meters or slightly further, you should have no problem as the pilot. Of course, you have the gunner to deal with targets as well. The only ships that ended up being a bit more annoying in PvE were things like M50s if they got in close, so you just had to make some distance and then re-engage. And while I could see this being a slight weak point of the ship in PvP combat, I mean, if somebody's getting in close on your Scorpius and you have a gunner, well, any light ship that has the ability to outmaneuver you probably isn't going to last too long in your gunner sights anyway. So it really probably isn't that big of a deal once you understand the mechanics. It's just, again, annoying for somebody like me who likes to get right in my opponent's faces. Now, the secondary seat turret itself is very effective. With double the capacitor of the pilot, you'll be able to put out considerably more DPS, and you have a fantastic firing arc to deal with threats from many different angles. Now, activating the turret does have a weird inner thought button placement, which just is not intuitive, and the remote turret still lacks some of the functionality of a man turret, where the gunner has to exit the controls to access mobi-glass. It's not a huge deal overall, it's just a bit annoying if you're comparing it to, say, gunning for a Hurricane. Now, the turret track system that allows the turret to move around the body of the Scorpius is, well, it's gimmicky, let's just be honest. It has very few use cases. Even if you were just purely being pursued by another fighter, well, the turret in the top mounted position is still perfectly effective at shooting pursuing targets. So there's very few cases in which I could see this rear position being better in a combat situation. I thought it might just function cool as a storage feature if you needed to fit it in a hangar that just didn't have a lot of height clearance. Also, compared to, say, like the Hurricane, the turret can get blown off in combat, which is both cool, but also kind of cuts the effective power of this ship in half. Now, there's some additional features about this ship that are not readily apparent to somebody looking to pick one up. The Scorpius comes with 4 custom internal missile racks that can hold 16 size 2 missiles. This is actually pretty darn impressive and is way more than most fighters. It also has a really cool fold-out weapon rack if you want to run a ground mission or two, plus an internal storage compartment, which seems to be the norm for fighter craft these days, but it's still very much appreciated. And the rest of the ship components have really cool fold-out compartments, which honestly just look fantastic. Now, of course, the Scorpius is very similar in its function to another 2-seater heavy fighter called the Hurricane. Now, when comparing the two ships directly, the Scorpius certainly wins on style points, and its in-atmo handling is significantly better. However, the Hurricane has a much smaller profile overall, and the pilot's guns don't suffer from shot convergence issues. That being said, I would say that piloting for the Scorpius is probably a bit more fun, where gunning for the Hurricane is probably a bit more fun. You technically get slightly more DPS from a Scorpius pilot seat, and naturally everything's in flux right now when it comes to ship balance, so none of this matters too much in terms of long term. It's more of what you get right now if you pick up a Scorpius. Now, ultimately, the Scorpius is a fantastic new ship that's an absolute blast to fly with friends. It looks awesome, it transforms in a super cool way, it's got that RSI logo on top, and it's about as close as you're going to get to flying an X-Wing in Star Citizen. I hope we start to see some pirate or syndicate Scorpiuses appearing in bounty missions at some point soon. They would certainly make for a fun alternate to the oh-so-common Hurricanes that we run into. Now, at the time of making this video, the Scorpius is not for sale in-universe yet, but I'm sure it will be soon, and I would predict its price to be somewhere between 1.2 to 2.2 million based on other ship prices in the verse. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the ship review, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.